Brennan. He's a golf performance specialist. We're going to talk about training for your golf swing. It's been our experience that thought and trying to change a motor pattern through thought works poorly at best. So we're going to try and give you a little different approach on how to change your golf swing. We've got David Lipsky from the Asian Tour and Ryan Brown from the Canadian PGA Tour, both here with us, and they're going to be really good models for us, showing us how they approach changing their golf swing. And first thing we do is try and identify what pattern you have in your swing. So there's a lot of tools available to you today that we utilize to identify this pattern. There's normal video, which we've done for years of the golf swing, which we'll still utilize. There's performance screens, which is a little different approach that Troy's a specialist in, and he's going to run these players through both static screens and motion screens to find out what it is that their body's capable of doing. And then there's 3D analysis, which we do with all our players. We utilize a particular motion capture system called K-Vest, and it gives us information on the kinetic chain or the kinematic sequence, and it tells us exactly how your body's moving through your golf swing, where you've got inefficiencies, maybe lack some power, have power leaks, maybe where you have the potential for injury, maybe a pattern of movement that causes a ball flight we don't desire. So we'll utilize these tools every now and then, not every time, but sometimes we bring in the ball flight launch monitor like TrackMan or something similar to understand what's happening through impact and how all of these four things, the physical screen, the normal golf video, the 3D analysis, and the ball flight information, we overlay those to identify what it is, the pattern in your pattern that either we want to change or improve upon. And once we've done that, then we design training protocol to change and improve that pattern. And you can see these guys here are first starting in the gym. They're doing their normal foam roll because it's been our experience that you can't stretch a knot. So the first thing we want to make sure is that their body has no knots or muscle tightness. This is something they do every day when they come into the gym. And as they go through their program this morning, they are going to train for the pattern of movement that they desire in their golf swing. And both of these guys are training to improve the start of their swing, so that's what we're going to talk about this morning. They're both trying to start their golf swing more with their core and their T-spine and less with their hands and arms. It might be termed as a classic one-piece takeaway in golf, and we're going to show you how you can train for that, and it might be a little different than what you think. So, after these guys are done foam rolling, they're next going to go through kind of a dynamic warm-up. So the warm-up is something that is designed to activate the proprioceptors in their feet, creates sort of balance, to actively stretch through motion, which they'll begin to do. So as they go through, we bias to the one that's shown to us by Athletes Performance, group out of Tempe or Scottsdale, Arizona, run by Mark Verstegen. But there's many good ones out there that are active stretching, and they're going to get your body warmed up for the sport you're playing, in this case, golf. So again, the four key things that we're trying to do in our golf warm-up is get your feet kind of actively turned on or woken up, get your glutes, your rear end activated, get your core starting to work, and get your scaps or your shoulders in place. Now, if we can get these parts talking to each other and communicating to each other as if they would in a golf swing, that would be highly beneficial to us in this warm-up. So you can see David's doing a basic bird dog, which ties basically the whole package together, his core, his scaps, and his glutes. Okay, so here we are in the gym. Troy's showing Ryan. Going to talk about Ryan doing a basic core activation exercise.
Glutes to stabilize his pelvis from moving too much. Shoulder blades are engaged. His core is winding and disassociating his body while he's stable to the ground, connecting the upper to the lower.
Or in normal man's terms, his stomach is somehow making his shoulder turn. Okay, which is what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to get his obliques to turn his T-spine. David's got a little bit more of a complicated exercise, again doing the same thing. He's got his pelvis immobilized here in the half kneeling position. He's got the push of his left side coming from slightly above him, the pull of his right side coming from slightly below him, the little push-pull pattern. And it's very emphasizes the obliques, turning his T-spine, and even simulate some of the push-pull pattern in your arm loading in the golf swing. Okay, so very careful to make sure his spine stays steady. He has enough core activation to be able to do that. And this is pretty challenging exercise. Okay, but one of many that we like to help us start to feel the one-piece takeaway. The good thing about this is David can do this cable exercise today or this week, work the start of his swing, do straight arm wood chops next week on a horizontal plane, and continue to work the start of his swing, be sending the same message to his neurological system in different ways, which will really help his long-term recall, which will really help him recall this pattern when it really counts in a golf tournament. Okay, so we've got Ryan over here. He's kind of taking the start with a med ball into half kneeling position, or into kneeling position again, immobilizing his pelvis, trying to relax his traps here, and feel how his obliques start his golf swing. So he'll do 10 or so reps with the med ball here. Again, feeling that start. He might now break away to a normal golf club. He'll kind of do the club in the navel to help it all start together. And about at that 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock position, you know the club will break away and set on its own. Okay, but this helps him practice the start he's after in his golf swing. Okay? So this is how we'd run through the first set. You know, depending on how hard we were working that day, whether it was a warm-up or a full-on workout, we might train a little harder. Secondly, we'll take this push-pull pattern, and David will step in here, and we're going to take away the ground. Okay, so he has to learn to stabilize his pelvis himself in order to turn his T-spine away. Good. So you can see as he digs in with his feet are shearing in an opposite direction, and he's winding that cable back. I think Troy's got too much weight on there for him. It's a lot of weight. Yeah, let's relax for a second. Let's lighten it up. At least a little bit. Again, you can see the cables coming off above them on the left, down from the bottom on the right. Kind of simulates your shoulder plane here as it turns around your spine. We want shoulders to turn 90 degrees around our spine if possible. We want the T-spine to help do that. You can see the ground forces are gone up as we take away the ground from him here. This really helps him dig in, activate his core, and begin his shoulder turn through his obliques. And it's a pattern that we want. As if you guys watch golf, and I'm sure if you're watching this webinar, you probably watched a little golf. There's been a few great players through the history of the game that initiate into the ground in some form or fashion. Okay, Henrik Stenson, probably the most in modern era, but many great players that push into the ground to begin to start the backswing. Well, I think it's really hard to move this cable system the way David's trying to move it here without pushing into the ground. And I think he'd agree with that. So Ryan's going to show us the next progression of this exercise. He also has a form of gliders under his feet. So he's on unstable surface. He's going to put his rear end on the wall. Troy's going to give him the med ball here. And he's going to be able to take this heavy med ball, which, what is that, 12 pounds, that one? Through full range of his backswing. Good. Go ahead and complete it all the way to the top. Good. So again, starts it with his T-spine, winds all the way to the top of his backswing. Good. Okay, again, maybe a little exaggeration on the pattern we're trying to create. Really keeps his arm swing short and his pivot very big. Strong load in the right glute and a whole lot going on in his core and feet. Is that right? Yeah. All right. So last progression to all these exercises, okay? I might take them through 2 or 3 sets here, taking away the ground. Really coaching them through every rep, trying to get a lot of feedback from the player as to what he's feeling and whether they feel like they can integrate this in their golf swing. But the last progression would be to run through the same exercise and give them the ground back. So we take away the unstable, give the ground back to them. Hopefully their feet feel like more like they're a sumo wrestler and they've really got some engagement into the deck. And all of a sudden, weight that became very difficult to move becomes much easier through training our neurological system to fire in the correct manner. What else would you add to this, Troy?
Just to further expand upon how it's affecting the neurological system, the varying of load and the changing of the movements that you're doing. Follow this up where you're getting the engagement of everything, but here we're taking that pressure away and letting him drive it on his own. So we're telling the brain now, the weight may have helped him in some small way. In this way now, he's doing the work himself.
One of the hardest things in the game of golf is we're hitting a still ball with a very light implement. So there's an infinite number of ways to place that implement on the ball. There's no reason for a golfer to be wearing elbow bands and braces and hurting themselves swinging a club. I mean, it's a non-contact sport. So it's something due to the inefficiency of our motion that causes us to get hurt playing a game that we're probably started playing for relaxation and enjoyment. Okay? So learning to train the right way, taking some of these principles from other sports and training golfers will really help you enjoy the game more, get more out of your ability. So if you can, these principles are principles that are used in every other sport for training. No other sport have I seen a baseball player stand in a mirror and practice for endless hours their stroke. They take a bat that's heavier than the one they use, they hit some balls with it, they do a lot of stuff in the gym to create the pattern of movement that they want to create. And hopefully they have a long, successful career, same as hopefully these two golfers have. But we'll go out to the tee with these two players this afternoon and try and create these same patterns of movement. We might take a light band, put it under our left foot, kind of work through the backswing in a similar push-pull pattern right there on the tee. Ryan's going to demo for us right here, and then hit some balls right after that. So again, we're waking up this neurological pattern that we're trying to create in our golf swing. And that's all we're trying to do, a little different than your traditional golf instruction. Okay, we want to keep the thinking to a minimum, the performance to a maximum. We want these guys out there shaping shots, working on their distance control, working on scoring, not their technique. We're going to try and master a pattern of movement in their technique here in the gym. If we do any technical training out there on the tee, it'll be very simple. It'll be setup, posture related. If there's any motion type training, we're going to probably come back to the gym and do it in here. All right, so here we are. Back in the gym this morning. We're going to train a little downswing 101. So we've got Ryan Brown again, newly qualified for the Canadian PGA Tour. Yep. Here, and he's going to show us a little cable training. So we're going to warm up his sequence by using some resistance of the cables. Okay, so Ryan's going to do a little push-pull pattern. He's got a lower cable in his left arm and a cable coming from above in his right arm. You can see he's got some gliders under his feet. So the purpose of the gliders are to make his glutes work double time. So they've got to work double time to stabilize his pelvis, to allow his obliques to rotate his T-spine into the hidden area. And Troy's going to explain a little bit here. Wider if you can with that left arm will help him clear even more. And again, by pushing into the ground to rotate through it. Okay, so you can do this either with both of these cables or you can isolate either one. So if he wants to let go of the one in his right and just pull all the way through on his left, this will let him go further through it. Pretty tough to do with the gliders. Again, your range of motion's not going to be quite as big as if you had full use of the ground.
But still showing really good load on that trail hip, or the lead hip.
And then he's got kind of, when he goes with the cable from above, it feels like it's coming from on plane in his backswing. Kind of take it into the hidden area, hold it down at impact. We always talk about if your feet hurt and your abs hurt, you're probably doing it right. So, yeah, it's amazing how hard his obliques are working when he gets this down here in the hitting area, working on an unstable surface like that. Okay? So again, basic 101 downswing training. Use of resistance to force the right firing sequence. You put enough weight in his hands, he has no choice but to fire in the right pattern. Okay? And then we got David over here. I like the cable training. It's great. But it doesn't let me move maybe ballistically enough, as aggressively enough as I really want to train the downswing. So we like to blend it into some other motion stuff. He's going to use a med ball. Step a little further back. He's going to run through like a little movement pattern series that we use for the med ball. The first one he's doing is called a start forward. So, I mean, this is great for not even just his downswing, but his backswing as well. So he's got an 8-pound med ball. He kick starts it in front of him. He has to change direction against the weight of that med ball. Again, has to fire from the ground up, uses the weight to build good sequence, uses the weight to train his sequence. Okay, he kind of then moves into a little bit more of glute activation as he's throwing the med ball, doing a little 2-step exercise. He's going to step to the right, step to the left, trying to load his right glute, create an incredible stretch in his body by going 2 directions at once, similar to the pitcher in baseball who's stepping forward as their arms going back, creates a tremendous step across their stretch across their obliques. He'll go from that one to now just a single step. Again, a lot of 2 directions in this one, feeling that he's stepping forward as he's rotating back. If he can go a little bigger into the backswing, let your right arm fire, fold and fire. Good. And then lastly, he'll do a little dynamic one from kind of simulating delivery in his downswing and burst. Okay, similar, this is our version of maybe the 1-inch punch for golf. Really confining time now and using weight to force efficiency. So he has less time to crack this ball out and create speed, and he's got a heavy ball. Those are 2 key principles that are going to shock his neurological system and force him to be somewhat efficient. So we get Ryan back over on the pulley now. He's going to now get to use the ground again. He'll be able to kind of take these exercises through a little bigger range of motion. So even though I'm using 2 players here, if you were training your downswing, you'd be doing both the cable and the med ball. So you would do both these exercises as one golfer. But we're just using both these guys as models. So again, you can see, go ahead, Troy.
We chose the 2-handle variation here instead of having a straight 4-bar to do this. Once again, in the screens we noticed some things in the shoulder stability. We want to work that area, link that to how he's loading his pelvis and how the core is winding, all that. So that's why this variation works well for this particular player, but each player can be individualized.
Yeah, Troy brings up a good point. We maybe have 50 different exercises that we use cable-wise to work your downswing. So we might take our K-Vest or whatever biomechanical system you choose to utilize, and we'll test Ryan for, a number of exercises. Or we'll use Troy's professional eye or my eye and figure out which exercise or what they're feeling. Which exercise is shocking their system the most, let them to get the most feel out of it so they don't think as much, they train their feel more, they create more of a pattern, and this is the stuff that'll stay with them come tournament time, And every day we're going to have him change the environment under his feet. So if he wears different shoes each day, if one day he's training in socks, the next day he's training in bare feet, this is sending more message from his brain to his muscle memory, if you will, or through his neurological system. There's been numerous studies done. It's creating new highways to help him learn faster, help his long-term recall, which is what really will help him come crunch time in a golf tournament. Okay, so the last thing we like to do here on the downswing is train light. Okay, so David is going to show us again the same series of exercises, just simply flipping the club over, starting with the start forward, really going fast back, fast through, really learning to create as much speed as he can. This is one of the exercises he's doing a lot now. He's trying to get more width in his arms. Keep his arms up with his fast moving body. It's a lot easier to keep things moving fast and together than to slow things down. So he'll go through again the same series of exercises. David just recently finished second in a co-sanctioned Asian European Tour event. Guy made an eagle on the last hole to beat him. Kind of rough way, but still pretty good performance. And again, so you see he'll run through a series of exercises. Okay, maybe 6 to 8 reps of each, really training speed, really trying to crack it out. Excellent exercise. So training light will actually work a little bit more of your deceleration components or stability in your body than heavy will. Heavy maybe trains more explosiveness. But again, everything's individual. So you want to do what's right for you. We're trying to design a program that's correct for each of the players, that really shocks their system the most, that helps them expedite their learning process and make sure they're going to perform in crunch time. So again, 4 simple exercises that he's doing. He's going through a start forward, a 2-step, a single step, and then what we call a little 9 o'clock start, where he confines time and really cracks out speed. So again, training the downswing here, kind of to summarize, Ryan starts off, we use resistance and weight to force efficiency of sequence in your body. Okay, and we take away the ground initially, which makes his glutes work double time, really dig into the deck and fire correctly, give him back the ground eventually, lets him work through a bigger range of motion, always keeping resistance or the weight of the med ball to help force the efficiency, and then lastly, letting them feel that with something even lighter than a golf club and really training that sequence to create the speed to the distal end, which is the ultimate goal. So we're going to take this out to the golf course now and show you how we pair it up with some exercises we do on the tee and how this all works together to keep thinking to a minimum, performance to a maximum, and keeps these guys winning golf tournaments. All right, so here we are on the range, Traverse City, Michigan, beautiful Lock and Heath Golf Club. We've got Ryan. He's going to go through basically the same backswing patterns that he warmed up with in the gym this morning. So we've got some furniture gliders underneath him. We've got them resting on each other, so it's a very, very unstable surface. So he's triggering the activation in his core and his glutes again. He'll make some little mini backswings. If he has a partner with him, like Troy's here, he can even toss him backwards to his partner. Kind of really lets it be more realistic and explosive. Okay, and then he might step off the gliders, grab his little tubing. warm up, stick it under his left foot, or again, if you got a partner, you can get into it a little bit more, but it works fine if he's under his own foot as well. And he's just going to, again, warm up that moving his T-spine with his core, trying to start his golf swing with his big muscles as opposed to with his hands and arms. And this enables him to keep more consistency, keep the club on plane, move everything more efficiently. Again, it's something he only wants to do when he wants to hit it longer and straighter. Otherwise, we don't recommend it. So, again, this isn't anything that's rocket science. He's trying to warm up these same patterns that we did in the gym.
Maybe a little more movement with this than...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the resistance. Hopefully, will activate that same neurological program that he exhausted this morning. So, he then might grab his club. He might stick a couple in his navel. Feel the same start. Break it away. And then he'll go into hitting some shots in his normal practice routine. You look great. And that's the end result. So power is nothing Ryan's short of, that's for sure. So we're all trying to, at the end of the day, he's trying to sign for a lower score on the card and make more money playing a game that he really loves. And his technique obviously adds to his ability to do that. What we're trying to do is create room for error in his technique, consistency in how he moves, and consistency in how he plays. And we're trying to keep his thinking to a minimum while his technique improves every day. And that's why we work these patterns in the gym. So he'll come out, and his first maybe hour of his practice session will be kind of pattern movement like this. But then soon after that, he can go into shaping shots, working on his wedge game, distance control, chipping and putting, which he needs to do a lot of, and playing, and not become thinking so much about his technique that he becomes handicapped while he's trying to improve it. Okay? So we've got David doing similar stuff over here, and he's kind of warmed up the same patterns in his technique. Now he's going into hitting shots. And again, if he was training his backswing, he'd be doing similar to what we just did with Ryan. We kind of go through it as a group, as a team together, and he warmed up that same pattern of starting his swing by digging into the ground, creating a little bit of an unstable surface, and putting some resistance in the game. So again, if we were to take him through it, it wouldn't look any different than what we just did with Ryan. He's warming up a similar pattern, and then he'll go right into his training and hitting shots. And they might, through the course of an hour practice session, go back and forth to the med ball and the tubing 2, 3, 4 times, right? And try and really capture that feel. And, some days it's great. Some days they can keep it for 72-hole tournaments some weeks. And some weeks not so much. So that's the code we're trying to crack and figure out, and keep these guys more consistent. They're both doing great in their careers, and we're just trying to keep the momentum going. Okay, so we've got David now going through his second set of training, and you can see he's got the furniture gliders under his feet. He's trying to start the swing with his core, and he's doing it nice and slow where he has to really dig into the ground. And, I would like to get some of his input. I'm obviously a big fan of how we train. Why do you feel like this helps you?
I think it helps because I can translate what I want to do in my swing and what I want to do in the range and the course, and I can do it through through all these training exercises, and it helps me learn it faster and easier. So I think it's a really good way to improve.
So it's like, again, I mean, he would use clubs, simulate the moves this morning. He might add the weight of the med ball, again, to shock the system a little bit more, keep his body turning. Awesome. Just really, you can really see at the start if he poses that first position. I mean, that's a ton of core turn. It's really good stability in his legs. Go ahead, Troy.
Also, what you may find is during these drills, you may see him move just a little bit more laterally. There may be little other things to it. We're not looking specifically at that. We're once again trying to emphasize that pattern neuromuscularly. We're trying to give him a feel with that. So we're not really critical about that. We're looking for the movement.
Yeah, one of Troy's big expertise is rehabbing accident victims. I mean, he really understands how to reprogram neurological patterns, and we tap into that in our training. We get back up in this when we go ahead and we do another 3D analysis. We can find out if we've been working in the right direction or if we're just kidding ourselves. I mean, that's science. That's hardcore data. It tells us, you know, is he able to wind up more efficiently, deliver more speed through the golf club, and you know, the ball flight data will let us know if it's going straighter, and he's finding it more often. So again, you can see tons of stability as he digs in against the unstable surface and a lot of core windup. And these are feels, and I've had, you know, I think if 10 players work on the same feeling and they were in a room and didn't know what anybody else wrote down, we'd get 10 different answers. So what he feels, I'm not as much concerned with. Getting the right general pattern of movement is what I am concerned with. You know, and I've had players describe some crazy feels to me, so as long as it works, we're not worried about it. And then we'll go right into hitting some shots. Pretty good.
I was just trying not to shank it.
That was really good. That might be the best one you hit all day. So I don't think you have to be technical to improve your technique, right? You just got to understand how you want to train, understand the pattern of movement you want to train, and you can keep the technical part to the coaches. You know, not many of them can play anyways. Now we're going to shift gears and train a little downswing. So again, depending on your pattern of movement, we're kind of talking downswing 101, general patterns. We're going to use a little bit of weight to force some efficiency through his torso. So we're going to have him throw me some med balls here, doing the same exercises that he did in the gym. Really trying to minimize how much he uses his arms, but still throw this med ball with some pop. So he's going to start off maybe initially with a little start forward exercise, right? And let it wind back across his core and then pivot through and let it go. And again, just like we were talking about doing the backswing work, we're just trying to warm up that same general pattern of movement. Okay, and then if he does 4 or 5 of each exercise, that's probably good. We'll have him do a little 2-step exercise where he steps both ways, step to the right, to the left. Good. Kind of activating his feet, moving into his glutes, changing directions. Good, and then we'll have him do a single step. So as he winds, he'll step towards me. Good, really good. Awesome. And last but not least, a little bit of an abbreviated start, 9 o'clock start where he has to burst. Really good for getting you to move through the shot. That's excellent. So then, after warming it up with some weight, we're going to have him run downhill and transfer this into some speed. So we might make a few swings. Again, not going overboard. 3 to 5 doing each exercise, cracking it out, creating some speed. Good. Guys always like this one. It helps with their dancing. Again, a pretty fluid motion, trying to improve the sequencing all the time, use of the ground all the time, sometimes the leverage of the hands and arms we're working on, but we're doing it with minimal thought. We're trying to do it with as much feel as we can and as little thought as possible. Okay.
For a while and you get really warm.
Gets a little golf cardio working at the same time. So again, now he's going to hit some shots. He might hit 3 to 5 balls again, running through every exercise, warming up that same neurological pattern. Not terribly concerned about his ball flight. And I'll work with these players, you know, like everybody's different. These are 4 generic exercises that we picked for the purpose of this webinar. Each player is going to find their own specific formula, their own recipe for good play. And it's going to shock their system in a way that works their deficiencies, that improves upon what they don't do really well. And that's going to give them the confidence to go out and make a lot of money playing golf. Good, so you can see he's stepping forward as he's winding back. Exercise he's working on, it's again like the pitcher in baseball, creates a ton of stretch across your obliques if you do it correctly. You create a lot of power, and it's incredible sequencing exercise. Power is something this guy's not short of, and at the end of all of it, he'll hit some shots. And he'll start to have some fun, and we'll really evaluate it with how does he feel like he has more control over the ball when he plays? Is he able to control his distances? Is he able to score? These type of things. Now in this, we still work on the club being on plane. We still work on the face being square. We still work on a great setup, you know, but we're focused more for the purpose of this webinar and what we do to train differently, how we train patterns of movement differently, keep the thinking to a minimum. Thinking about changing your pattern of movement has never worked in any sport. And golfers seem to be persistent and keep trying it. So Rye, in your words, like why, you seem to like this kind of training. Why does it work for you?
Well, it helps me an awful lot, just kind of the same reasons that you just mentioned. I mean, for me, I've tried playing golf technically, thinking about certain positions in my swing or where I want to get them, but since we've been working, not thinking about that and just relying on your training and kind of the muscle memory that you develop and thinking about big muscle movements rather than positions in your swing or your club face has really helped me learn how to control the trajectory of my shots. And it's made me a much better ball striker. So, you know, the art of playing the game and scoring is so much more than just technique or movements, but I think if you can improve your technique without much thought, it's going to go a long ways in making you a better player.
So all these guys, we're trying, you know, I want them to have the best technique in the game. But the last thing I want to create is a bunch of mental midgets or guys that think too much about their technique. You know, I want these guys to be able to play golf. They're great athletes, and they know how to play this game. And if I can train their pattern of movement properly and leave their mind to play golf and not think about technique, which we all know doesn't work anyways, I think they'll have tremendous careers playing the game. So far, we're doing something right. So here we are, we're on the back of the 16th green at Lockenheath Golf Club, and we just want to kind of summarize everything that's a little bit different about our training, right, Troy?
Absolutely.
So again, we use 4 key tools to help us really diagnose what the movement pattern is, and whether it's, it's usually, they're there for a reason. So usually they want to make it more efficient or completely change it. And those tools, once again, that we use normal golf video. We use a combination of screens that Troy's pulled from the best in the business to help us understand what kind of movements this particular person is capable of. We then hook them up to a motion capture system, which puts markers on your body. We love K-Vest. K-Vest works great for us because it gives us a full kinetic analysis, or gives us the true kinetic link or the kinematic sequence, which in layman's terms tells us how fast each part's moving and how well they're transferring energy to each other. I like that system the best because I can hit live ammo outside. That's my preference. We also use ball flight monitors when needed. So we'll take these 4 tools, we'll overlay them on each other, we'll decide together with the player as a team, what is it that's going to help you shoot lower scores? Okay, how can we change this pattern? How can we improve this pattern to help you achieve that particular goal? And then we attack it neurologically in the gym. This is something we believe firmly in. We don't want our players thinking. Again, we want them to think about shooting low scores, playing golf, as opposed to their technique. What else would you add to that, Troy?
From all those tools, then we take, as we mentioned before, a protocol. We'll take a list. Players will be comfortable with that list. They'll leave with the list. They'll know what they'll want to do the next week or two till we get a chance to see them again and work with them and be comfortable about what it is that they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and like we said before, we've showed you a few exercises. We have a menu of hundreds of exercises. Different ways of throwing balls, different way of using cable and pulley devices, different ways of using weight. And we use these to create movement patterns, similar to how they do in every other sport. This is nothing that hasn't been done in other sports for a lot of years, and it's worked very effectively. So we're just trying to apply it to golf. We can recapture with our motion capture system, which is completely unbiased, and it lets us know, are we working in the right direction? Are we doing exactly what we think we are? Are we as good as we think we are? And, and then with the players, we also want their feedback. Which exercise gives you the best feel? Which one helps you get it in your golf swing the fastest? How can we cross it over with exercises on the tee that continue to help you feel these movement changes and keep the thinking to a minimum, because that's our goal.
Absolutely.
So again, we appreciate the opportunity